The morning sun rose over New Busan, casting orange light across the settlement's metal walls. Mirai Han stood on the eastern watchtower, her eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of trouble. She had been doing this every morning for 3 years now, ever since the Krynath soldiers killed her father. Tae-19 was a hard world. The air was thin and cold. The soil grew crops slowly, but it was home. Her ancestors had come here 300 years ago on a colony ship from Earth. They built New Busan from the ruins of that ship. They survived when everything tried to kill them. The colonists were tough people. Then the Krynath came. Mirai remembered the day their ships appeared in the sky. She was only 15 years old. The reptilian aliens demanded tribute. They wanted resources, food, and workers. Governor Daeho Choi had no choice. Tae-19 had no weapons that could fight starships. They surrendered. That was 50 years ago. Now the entire colony lived under Krynath rule. They worked in the mines. They grew food for alien masters. They lived in fear. Anyone who resisted was killed. Mirai climbed down from the watchtower and walked through the settlement. People were already moving through the streets. Workers heading to the mines. Children going to school. Everyone looked tired. Everyone looked afraid. She reached the old communications center. It was a building left from the original colony days. Most of the equipment was broken now. But Mirai was an engineer. She had been secretly repairing one of the old transmitters. If she could get it working, maybe she could send a message. Maybe someone would hear. Inside, her friend Tae-hyun was waiting. He was tall and thin, with worry lines on his young face. He looked at her with concern. "Did anyone see you?" he asked. "No," Mirai said. "Everyone is too busy trying to survive." They worked together on the transmitter. Hours passed. Finally, a green light flickered on. The machine was working. Mirai's heart pounded. She could send a message now. But who would receive it? Earth was so far away. The colony had lost contact 300 years ago. Did anyone even remember they existed? She decided to try anyway. She recorded a simple message. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook. "This is Mirai Han of Tae-19 New Busan Settlement. We are human colonists. We need help. The Krynath have enslaved us. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help." She sent the message into space. Then she and Tae-hyun shut down the equipment and left quickly. If the Krynath found out what they had done, they would both be executed. Far above Tae-19, beyond the planet's atmosphere, something was moving. It was a ship. A human ship. The UN destroyer Indomitable had been searching this region of space for weeks. Commander Jiho Kang stood on the bridge looking at the star maps. Jiho was a career officer. He had served Earth for 20 years. He had fought pirates, explored unknown systems, and protected convoys. But this mission was different. Earth's deep space sensors had detected something unusual. Human genetic signatures from a system that wasn't supposed to have humans. Lieutenant Hemon Park approached him. She was his intelligence officer, sharp and efficient. She held a data pad. "Commander, we found something in the old colonial records," she said. "A ship called the Eternal Hope left Earth in 2547. It was carrying Korean colonists. The destination was listed as Tae-19. They never reported arrival." Jiho felt a chill run through him. A lost colony, one of the forgotten settlements from the first expansion. Hundreds of ships had been sent out during that era. Many never made contact again. Everyone assumed they had failed. But what if they had survived? "Plot a course," Jiho ordered. "Full speed." The Indomitable moved through space, its powerful engines pushing it faster and faster. 2 days later, they reached Tae-19. The planet appeared on their screens. Rocky, cold, but capable of supporting life. Scanners detected settlements. Power sources. "And something else, Commander," Yemen said, her voice tense. "I am reading multiple alien vessels on the surface. They appear to be Krynath." Jiho's jaw tightened. The Krynath Dominion was a known threat. They were aggressive, territorial, and cruel. If they were here on a human colony world, it meant trouble. "Are there humans down there?" he asked. "Yes, sir. Thousands of them, concentrated in several settlements." Jiho's mind raced. This was unprecedented. A human colony alive after 300 years, but under alien control. He needed to understand the situation before acting. He ordered the ship to maintain orbit and observe. On the ground, Mirai went about her day. She worked in the repair shop, fixing equipment for the Krynath overseers. The aliens were tall, covered in dark green scales with yellow eyes that showed no mercy. They spoke in harsh, guttural voices. They treated humans like animals. At noon, the alarm bells rang. Everyone stopped working. Mirai's stomach twisted with fear. The bells only rang for executions. She joined the crowd being herded toward the central square. 3 colonists were kneeling on a platform. Their hands were bound. A Krynath enforcer stood behind them. Governor Deho Choi stood to the side, his face pale and drawn. He had no power to stop this. The Krynath commander, Vex Thrall, addressed the crowd. His voice was amplified by speakers. These 3 refused to meet their work quotas, he said. They are thieves. Thieves are punished. The enforcer raised his weapon. Mirai looked away, but she could not block out the sound. 3 shots. 3 bodies falling. The crowd was silent. No one dared to cry. Something broke inside Mirai. She had seen enough. She had lost enough. That night, she returned to the communications center. She powered up the transmitter again. She did not care if the Krynath caught her. She recorded another message. This is Mirai Han. They are killing us. We cannot fight them. If anyone is listening, please help us. We are human. We deserve to be free, she sent the message. This time it reached the Indomitable immediately. Hyemen intercepted it and brought it to Commander Jiho Kang. He listened to the recording 3 times. He heard the desperation in Mirai's voice. He saw the scanner data showing Krynath military presence. Jiho made his decision. He contacted Earth Command and explained the situation. The response came back within hours. It was simple and direct: liberate the colony, use whatever force necessary. Jiho assembled his crew. Marines checked their weapons. Pilots prepared their gunships. The ship's weapon systems powered up. Everyone knew what they were about to do. Earth had found its lost children, and Earth was coming to bring them home. Commander Jiho Kang stood on the bridge and gave the order that would change everything. Launch the attack. The first drop pods hit the ground at dawn. Mirai was in her small apartment when she heard the sound. It was like thunder, but sharper, more violent. She ran to the window and saw streaks of fire falling from the sky. The Krynath guards in the streets looked up in confusion. They raised their weapons. Then the first pod opened and everything changed. A figure emerged wearing dark armor that seemed to absorb light. The soldier was human. His helmet displayed no face, only a glowing visor. He moved with terrifying speed. His rifle barked once, twice, 3 times. 3 Krynath soldiers fell before they could even aim their weapons. More pods opened. More soldiers emerged. They spread through the settlement like water flowing downhill. Gunfire echoed through the streets. The Krynath garrison, which had terrorized the colonists for 50 years, suddenly found themselves fighting for their lives. Sergeant Yubin Choi led his squad through the eastern district. His helmet display showed enemy positions highlighted in red. His squad moved in perfect formation. They had trained for this. Urban combat, close quarters, overwhelming force. A Krynath warrior burst from a doorway, roaring. Yubin fired without breaking stride. The alien went down. His squad cleared the building room by room. When they emerged, 3 more Krynath were dead. Not a single human soldier was injured. Mirai watched from her window, her heart pounding. She had prayed for help. She had sent that message into space, hoping someone, anyone, would hear. But she never expected this. Earth's military was like nothing she had ever imagined. These soldiers moved like machines. They fought with absolute precision. She grabbed her jacket and ran outside. Other colonists were emerging from their homes, confused and afraid. An elderly man grabbed her arm. "What is happening?" he asked. "We are being rescued," Mirai said. Earth came. The man stared at her like she was crazy. Earth? The planet they had not heard from in 300 years? It seemed impossible. Above the settlement, gunships screamed through the sky. They were sleek and deadly. Their weapons lit up the morning with bright flashes. Krynath anti-aircraft positions exploded one after another. The alien defenses crumbled. In orbit, Commander Jiho Kang watched the tactical display. Green markers showed his troops advancing. Red markers showed Krynath forces retreating or being eliminated. The battle was going exactly as planned. Lieutenant Hyemen Park stood beside him. She monitored communications from the ground teams. Sergeant Yubin's team has secured the Eastern District, she reported. Civilian casualties are minimal. The colonists are staying inside as ordered. Good, Jiho said. What about the main garrison, under assault? The Krynath are attempting to fortify their position. They will not hold long. On the ground, the Krynath. Commander Vexithral realized his situation was desperate. He had 200 soldiers. The humans had less than 100 on the ground. But numbers meant nothing. His troops were being slaughtered. He had underestimated Earth. The Krynath Dominion had heard of humans, of course, an aggressive species that had claimed several star systems. But they were far away. They were not supposed to care about this forgotten colony. Now Vexithral understood the truth. Earth cared very much, and Earth soldiers were far more dangerous than he had imagined. He ordered his remaining forces to fall back to the command center. It was a fortified building in the center of New Busan, thick walls, heavy weapons. If they could hold out there, maybe reinforcements would arrive. Sergeant Yubin received the order to advance on the command center. His squad linked up with 2 others. Corporal Seo-hyun Lee, the team medic, checked her equipment. She had treated 3 colonists already. Minor injuries from debris, nothing serious. The civilians were surprisingly calm. We move in 5 minutes, Yubin told his team. The command center is fortified. Expect heavy resistance. Our objective is to capture the Krynath commander alive if possible. Mirai found Governor Daeho Choi near the settlement square. The old governor looked like he had aged 10 years in one morning. He was organizing colonists, trying to keep them calm. Governor, Mirai said, the Earth soldiers are attacking the command center. We need to help them. Daeho looked at her with tired eyes. Help them? Mirai, we have no weapons, no training. We would only get in their way. We know the building, Mirai insisted. We know the tunnels underneath. The Krynath made us dig them. We can guide the soldiers. Daeho considered this. She was right. The colonists had built much of the Krynath infrastructure. They knew every passage, every weak point. He nodded slowly. Find the Earth commander on the ground. Tell him what you know. Mirai ran through the streets. She found Sergeant Yubin's squad preparing for the assault. She approached carefully, hands raised. The soldiers turned toward her, weapons ready but not aimed at her. I can help you, she called out. I know the building. There are tunnels. Yubin's helmet turned toward her. For a moment, Mirai felt afraid. The soldier looked inhuman in that armor. Then he spoke, and his voice was warm. Human, tell me everything, Mirai explained quickly. There was a maintenance tunnel that led directly under the command center. The Krynath used it to move supplies. It would be guarded, but not heavily. The aliens never expected an attack from below. Yubin contacted Commander Jiho immediately. The plan changed. Half the forces would assault the front entrance, create a distraction. Yubin's squad would take the tunnels with Mirai as their guide. Are you sure about this? Yubin asked Mirai. It will be dangerous. I am sure, she said. Her voice did not shake. She had been afraid for 50 years. She was done being afraid. They entered the tunnels through a hidden entrance behind an old warehouse. It was dark and narrow. The soldiers activated lights on their helmets. They moved silently. Mirai led them forward. They encountered 2 Krynath guards. The aliens never had a chance to raise the alarm. Yubin's team eliminated them in seconds. Mirai stepped over the bodies without looking down. She felt no pity for them. Above them, the main assault began. Explosions shook the tunnel. Dust fell from the ceiling. The distraction was working. All Krynath attention was focused on the front entrance. Mirai brought them to a metal hatch. This leads to the command center basement, she whispered. There will be guards on the other side. Yubin signaled his team. They stacked up by the hatch. On his mark, they would breach. Mirai stepped back, pressing herself against the tunnel wall. Breach, Yubin said calmly. The hatch exploded outward. The soldiers flowed through like water. Mirai heard weapons fire, shouting. Then silence. Clear, someone called. Mirai climbed through the hatch. The basement was secure. 6 Krynath guards lay dead. The human soldiers had not even broken formation. It was terrifying and beautiful at the same time. They moved upward through the building. Floor by floor, room by room. The Krynath were caught between two forces. Panic spread through their ranks. Some tried to surrender, others fought to the death. Yuban's squad reached the command level. Vex Thrall was waiting with his elite guards. The Krynath commander was massive, nearly 7 feet tall, his scales scarred from many battles. "You dare attack the Dominion," he roared. "We will destroy your world for this." Yuban removed his helmet. His face was calm. He looked Vex Thrall in the eyes. "You enslaved human colonists. You thought no one would care. You were wrong. Earth protects its own." Vex Thrall lunged forward with a roar. Yuban sidestepped and fired once. The Krynath commander fell. It was over in seconds. The remaining Krynath threw down their weapons. The battle for New Busan was over. It had lasted less than 4 hours. The garrison that had ruled through fear for 50 years was broken. Yuban turned to Mirai. She was standing in the doorway, staring at Vex Thrall's body. Tears were streaming down her face. "You are safe now," Yuban said gently. "All of you are safe." Mirai looked up at him. Safe. It was a word she had almost forgotten. She nodded, unable to speak. Outside, the sun was rising higher. The sounds of battle had stopped. Colonists emerged from their homes, blinking in the light. Earth soldiers stood in the streets, weapons lowered. No longer a threat. Now Protector's Tay-19 was free. And across the Krynath Dominion, warning messages began to spread. Earth had returned. And Earth remembered its children. 3 days after the liberation, Governor Daeho Choi stood in the ruins of the Krynath Command Center. Earth engineers were already working to convert it into a proper administration building. The speed at which they worked amazed him. Everything about Earth amazed him now. A shuttle landed in the square outside. Daeho watched through the window as a woman in a formal uniform emerged. She was accompanied by Commander Jiho Kang. They walked toward the building with purpose. Minutes later, they entered his temporary office. Commander Jiho introduced the woman. "Governor Choi, this is Ambassador Soman An. She comes with a message from Earth." Daeho stood and bowed respectfully. The ambassador smiled warmly and returned the bow. Then she handed him a datapad. "This is from the President of Earth," she said. "I will summarize. Tay-19 is officially recognized as a human colony under Earth's protection. You have 2 options. First, we can evacuate everyone to Earth or another established colony. Second, we can help you rebuild here and provide permanent military protection." Daeho felt tears forming in his eyes. For 300 years, his people had been alone. For 50 years, they had been slaves. Now Earth was offering them a choice. Freedom and protection. "This is our home," he said quietly. "We would like to stay, but we need help rebuilding." Ambassador Soman nodded. "Then Earth will help. We will send engineers, medical personnel, and defensive systems. We will also station a permanent garrison here. No one will threaten Tay-19 again." Across the settlement, Mirai was helping to organize the rebuilding effort. She worked alongside Earth engineers, learning about their advanced technology. It was overwhelming but exciting. She felt useful for the first time in years. Sergeant Yuban found her working on a damaged power generator. He had removed his armor and wore a simple uniform. Without the intimidating armor, he looked young, maybe 30 years old. "You have talent," he said, watching her work. "Earth could use engineers like you." Mirai looked up, surprised. "Me? I only know basic repairs. You kept ancient equipment running for years with no supplies. That takes skill and creativity. The Earth Corps of Engineers would be happy to train you properly." Mirai considered this. Leaving Tay-19, it was her home, but maybe it was time to see more of the galaxy. Time to learn. Time to grow. "I will think about it," she said. In orbit aboard the Indomitable, Lieutenant Hyaman Park was analyzing intelligence reports. What she found worried her. The Krynath Dominion was mobilizing. Their military was preparing for something big. She brought the data to Commander Jiho. He studied it carefully, his expression growing grim. "They are not accepting the loss of Tay-19, Hyaman said. "The Dominion sees it as a challenge to their authority." They are gathering ships. How many ships? Jiho asked. At least 40 warships, maybe more. They are calling it a punitive expedition. They want to retake Tay-19 and make an example of us. Jiho stood and walked to the window. Below, Tay-19 turned slowly. The colonists down there were just beginning to hope again, just beginning to believe in freedom. He would not let the Krynath take that away. Contact Earth Command, he ordered. Request reinforcements. And prepare for battle. 2 days later, Ambassador Soman met with a Krynath delegation in neutral space. The aliens demanded Earth withdraw from Tay-19 immediately. They claimed the colony was in their territory. They said Earth had no right to interfere. Soman listened patiently. Then she delivered Earth's response. Tay-19 is a human colony. It was established by humans 300 years ago. The fact that you enslaved its people does not give you legal claim to it. Earth will not withdraw. We will defend our people against any threat. The Krynath representative hissed angrily. Then you choose war. No, Soman said calmly. You chose war when you enslaved human beings. We are simply responding. The meeting ended badly. War was now inevitable. Earth began moving assets into position. A carrier group was dispatched. The UEN Retribution, commanded by Captain Ji-won Kim, would arrive in 3 days. On Tay-19, the colonists learned about the coming attack. Fear spread through the settlements. They had just been freed. Now they might have to fight again. Governor Daiho called a town meeting. Everyone gathered in the central square. Earth soldiers stood among the civilians. They were no longer strangers. They were friends, protectors. Daiho spoke clearly and calmly. I will not lie to you. The Krynath are coming. They want to enslave us again. But Earth will not let that happen. We have been offered evacuation. Anyone who wants to leave can board the transports. The crowd murmured. Some people looked afraid. Others looked angry. I am staying. A voice called out. It was Mirai. She stepped forward. This is our home. We survived 50 years of slavery. We can survive a battle. We will fight alongside Earth. Other voices joined hers. We will fight. We will defend our home. We are done running. Sergeant Yubin stepped forward. He looked at the gathered colonists with respect. Then we will arm you. We will train you. When the Krynath come, they will face not just Earth's military, but the people of Tay-19 fighting for their freedom. Training began immediately. Earth soldiers showed the colonists how to use basic weapons, how to find cover, how to coordinate during an attack. The colonists learned quickly. They were motivated by something stronger than training. They were motivated by the desire to never be slaves again. Corporal Seo-hyun Lee set up medical stations throughout the settlement. She trained colonist volunteers to help treat wounded. She worked tirelessly, preparing for casualties that she prayed would never come. On the 3rd day, the retribution arrived. It was massive, 10 times larger than the Indomitable. It carried hundreds of fighters and thousands of Marines. Captain Ji-won Kim contacted Commander Jiho immediately. Commander Kang, we stand ready. My orders are clear. Defend Tay-19 at all costs. Jiho felt relief wash over him. With the retribution here, they had a real chance. Thank you, Captain. We estimate the Krynath fleet will arrive in less than 24 hours. Then we have work to do. Let us show the Dominion what happens when they threaten human colonies. That night, Mirai could not sleep. She walked through the settlement. Other colonists were awake too. They stood on rooftops and balconies, looking at the stars. Somewhere up there, an enemy fleet was approaching. She found Yubin standing guard near the communications center. He was checking his rifle, making sure everything was perfect. Are you afraid? She asked. Always, he said honestly. Fear keeps you sharp, keeps you alive. But I am also confident. We have good soldiers, good equipment, and something the Krynath do not have. What is that? We are fighting for people we care about. The Krynath are fighting for pride. That makes all the difference. Mirai nodded. She understood. The Krynath had always fought out of arrogance. They thought themselves superior. But Earth fought for something deeper, for family, for justice, for the idea that no human should ever be enslaved. "What happens after?" she asked. "After the battle?" Yubin smiled. "We rebuild. We live. We make sure this colony becomes everything it was meant to be. A home." Mirai liked that answer. She thanked Yubin and walked back toward her apartment. She was still afraid, but she was also hopeful. Earth had come. Earth had remembered. And Earth would not abandon them now. In orbit, sensors detected the first signs of the Krynath fleet. They were coming. 40 warships, maybe more. The largest Krynath battle group seen in decades. Commander Jiho and Captain Jiwon coordinated their forces. The Retribution would engage the main fleet. The Indomitable and its escorts would protect the planet from any forces that broke through. On the ground, Sergeant Yubin assembled his Marines. They stood ready, armor sealed, weapons charged. Between them stood the colonists, holding weapons for the first time in their lives. They were not soldiers, but they were determined. The sun rose over Taewon 9. It would be a beautiful day, but by nightfall the sky would be filled with fire. The battle was coming and Earth was ready. Appeared in orbit around Taewon 9. They were massive vessels built for war and intimidation. Their hulls were dark and covered with weapons. They looked like metal predators. On the bridge of the Retribution, Captain Jiwon Kim watched them arrive. Her tactical officer counted the ships and reported weapon signatures. The Krynath had brought enough firepower to level a continent. The Krynath armada emerged from hyperspace at noon. 43 warships to Earth had not come unprepared. The Retribution alone matched 10 Krynath warships. And she was not alone. The Indomitable and 5 escort frigates surrounded the planet. Earth fighters were already launching from the carriers' bays. The Krynath admiral broadcast a message. His voice was cold and arrogant. "Human vessels, you are in Dominion space. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. We will reclaim what is ours." Captain Jiwon responded calmly. "Taewon 9 is a human colony. It has been for 300 years. We will not withdraw. If you attack, we will defend." The Krynath admiral laughed. "You are outnumbered 4-1. Your bravery is foolish. Prepare to die." The Krynath fleet began moving forward in attack formation. Captain Jiwon gave her orders. The battle had begun. The Retribution's railguns spoke first. Massive slugs of metal accelerated to incredible speeds tore through space. They struck the lead Krynath ship. Its shields flared bright, then failed. The slugs punched through the hull. Internal explosions ripped the ship apart, one down. 42 to go. The Krynath returned fire. Energy beams and missiles filled the space between the fleets. The Retribution shields absorbed most of the hits. Her point defense systems shot down incoming missiles. But some got through. The carrier shook from multiple impacts. Earth fighters swarmed out like angry insects. They were fast and maneuverable. Krynath fighters tried to intercept them, but Earth pilots were better trained. The dogfights were brutal and quick. Krynath fighters exploded one after another. Commander Jiho commanded the defensive line around the planet. When 3 Krynath cruisers tried to break through to attack the surface, the Indomitable moved to intercept. Her weapons blazed. Missiles launched. The 3 cruisers found themselves in a storm of fire. 2 turned back. The 3rd pushed forward, taking heavy damage. It was desperate to reach the planet. To punish the colonists, Lieutenant Hyeman targeted its engines. Direct hit. The cruiser spun out of control and exploded. On the ground, the colonists heard the sounds of battle in space. Bright flashes lit the sky. Sometimes burning debris fell through the atmosphere. They waited in bunkers and shelters, weapons ready, praying the Earth ships would hold. Mirai stood with Sergeant Yubin in a fortified position near the settlement edge. She held a rifle. It felt heavy in her hands, strange but also empowering. She was no longer helpless. "Do you think they will reach us?" she asked, looking at the sky. "Maybe," Yubin said. "Some might get through, but we will be ready." In orbit, the battle raged for hours. The Krynath had numbers, but Earth had technology, training, and determination. Slowly, the tide turned. Krynath ships were being destroyed faster than they could destroy Earth vessels. The Krynath admiral grew desperate. He ordered half his remaining fleet to rush the planet. If they could land troops, they could take the colony hostage. Force Earth to negotiate. 20 ships broke formation and charged toward Tae-19. Commander Jiho saw them coming. He knew what they intended. He could not let them reach the surface. All ships concentrate fire on the charging vessels. We hold the line here. The Indomitable and her escorts unleashed everything they had. The space around them became a wall of fire. Kranath ships ran into that wall and died. But there were too many. Some broke through. 6 Krynath ships entered the atmosphere. Drop pods began falling toward New Busan. The ground battle was about to begin. Yuban activated his helmet. Contact incoming. Kranath drop troops. Everyone to positions. The pods hit the ground outside the settlement. Kranath warriors poured out. Hundreds of them. They were angry and desperate. They charged toward New Busan with weapons firing. Earth Marines opened fire from their fortified positions. The Krynath ran into a killing field, but they kept coming, wave after wave. Some reached the outer defenses. Close combat began. Mirai fired her rifle. She did not think. She just did what Yuban had taught her. Aim, breathe, fire. A Krynath warrior fell, then another. She was shaking, but she kept firing. Beside her, other colonists fought. They were not professional soldiers, but they were protecting their home, their families. They fought with everything they had. Corporal Seo-hyun moved through the battle like a ghost. When soldiers fell wounded, she was there. She dragged them to cover. She stopped bleeding. She saved lives. She refused to let anyone die if she could prevent it. The Krynath pushed hard at the eastern gate. It began to fail. Yuban saw the danger. If the gate fell, the enemy would flood into the settlement. He made a decision. Squad leaders, rally on me. We are going to push them back. He led a counterattack. Marines and colonists together. They surged forward with weapons blazing. The Krynath, surprised by the aggression, fell back. The gate held. In space, Captain Jiwon identified the Krynath flagship. It was the largest ship in their fleet. The admiral commanded from there. If she could destroy it, the Krynath would lose coordination. But the flagship was protected by other vessels. To reach it, she would have to take the Retribution deep into the enemy fleet. It was dangerous. It might be suicide. But it would end the battle. She contacted Commander Jiho. I am going after their flagship. Hold the planet, understood, Jiho replied. Good hunting, Captain. The Retribution turned and accelerated directly toward the Krynath flagship. Enemy ships moved to block her. She fired continuously. Her shields flickered under massive fire. Hull plating began to melt, but she kept going. The crew worked frantically. Damage control teams sealed breaches. Engineers rerouted power. Everyone knew what was at stake. They were not fighting for Earth anymore. They were fighting for the colonists below, for people who had suffered for 50 years and deserved freedom. The Retribution broke through the defensive screen. She was damaged but still fighting. The Krynath flagship tried to turn away, too slow. Captain Jiwon fired everything. Railgun slugs, missiles, energy beams. All of it struck the flagship at once. Its shields collapsed instantly. The hull ruptured. Explosions tore through the massive ship from bow to stern. The Krynath admiral died with his ship. The effect on the Krynath fleet was immediate. Without their commander, confusion spread. Ships began pulling back. Some tried to retreat to hyperspace. Earth fighters hunted them down. On the ground, the Krynath troops saw their ships leaving. They realized they were abandoned, betrayed. Some threw down their weapons and surrendered. Others fought to the death. But the battle was over. Yuban walked through the settlement. Bodies lay everywhere. Krynath and human. The cost had been high. But they had won. New Busan still stood. The colonists were free. He found Mirai sitting against a wall. Her rifle lay beside her. She was covered in dust and blood. Not her own. She looked exhausted but alive. It is over, he said gently. We won. Mirai looked up at him. Tears ran down her face. But she was smiling. We are really free? She asked. Yes, you are free. All around them, colonists emerged from shelters. They looked at the sky. The battle lights were gone. Only stars remained. Beautiful, peaceful stars. Someone began to cheer. Then another. Soon the entire settlement was celebrating. They cried and laughed and hugged each other. 50 years of slavery had ended. They had fought for their freedom and won. In orbit, Commander Jiho looked at the tactical display. Of the 43 Krynath ships that had attacked, only 8 escaped. The rest were destroyed or captured. The Retribution was heavily damaged but intact. Not a single Earth vessel had been lost. Lieutenant Hyemin stood beside him. "We did it, Commander. Taewon 9 is secure," Jiho nodded slowly. He felt tired but satisfied. They had done more than win a battle. They had saved thousands of lives. They had proven that Earth would never abandon its people. The galaxy would remember this day. The Krinath Dominion had learned a painful lesson. Earth protects its own, and Earth's military was not to be challenged. On the ground, as the sun set over New Busan, the colonists and Earth soldiers worked together. They tended the wounded. They honored the dead. They began the work of rebuilding once more, but this time they rebuilt with hope. With pride. With the knowledge that they were not forgotten. Earth had descended without warning, and Earth would never leave them again. 6 months after the battle, New Busan looked completely different. The damaged buildings had been repaired. New structures stood where Krinath Barracks once stood. Solar panels covered every roof. Wind turbines turned on the hills. The settlement was no longer surviving. It was thriving. Earth had kept its promise. Engineers arrived with supplies and equipment. Medical teams treated everyone who needed care. Teachers came to educate the children about the wider galaxy. The colony was becoming a real part of human civilization again. Governor Daeho Choi stood in his new office. It was simple but comfortable. Through the window, he could see the central square. Children played there now. Not long ago, that square had been a place of executions. Now it was a place of joy. A soft knock on the door pulled him from his thoughts. Ambassador Soman entered. She had stayed on Taewon 9 to help with the transition. She had become a friend. "Governor, I have news from Earth Command. The Krinath Dominion has formally requested peace negotiations. They want to end the conflict." Daeho raised his eyebrows. "They are surrendering?" "Not exactly surrendering, but they recognize they cannot win. They lost 35 warships at Taewon 9. Earth destroyed 3 more when they tried to raid another system. The Dominion is weakened. They want peace before they lose more." "What are Earth's terms?" "The Krinath must recognize all human colonies as sovereign territory. They must pay reparations to Taewon 9, and they must allow Earth to search for other lost colonies in the region. If we find humans living under Krinath rule, they will be liberated." Daeho smiled. "Those are good terms. The Dominion bullied people for too long. It is time they learned humility." Across the settlement, Mirai Han was packing her belongings. She had made her decision. She was leaving Taewon 9 not forever, but for a while. Earth had offered her a place at the engineering academy. She would learn. She would grow. Then she would return and help build an even better home. Sergeant Yuban helped her carry boxes to the transport. He had been assigned to the permanent garrison on Taewon 9. He would stay here, protect the colony. He had found a purpose. "You will do well at the academy," he said. "You have the mind of an engineer and the heart of a fighter. Earth needs people like you." Mirai smiled. "Thank you. For everything. You saved us. All of you." Yuban shook his head. "We just reminded you that you were never alone. You saved yourselves by surviving, by never giving up hope." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Mirai hugged him. Yuban was surprised but returned the hug. When they separated, both had tears in their eyes. "I will come back," she promised. "This is my home. We will be here," Yuban said, "always." In orbit, the Indomitable was undergoing final repairs. Commander Jiho Kang had been promoted to admiral. He would command a new task force, the Colonial Reclamation Fleet. Its mission was to find other lost human colonies. Earth's early expansion had sent hundreds of colony ships into space. Many never reported back. For centuries, everyone assumed they failed. But Taewon 9 proved otherwise. Some had survived, and they needed to be found. Lieutenant Hyemin would serve as his second in command. She stood beside him on the bridge, looking at star charts. There were dozens of potential colony sites. Each one could hold thousands of humans waiting for rescue. "Where do we start?" she asked. Jiho pointed to a system 3 weeks away. "This one. Old records show a colony ship called the New Dawn headed there in 2551. If they made it, there could be 50,000 humans living there now. And if they are in trouble, then we do what we did here. We remind them that Earth remembers, and we bring them home." 3 days later, a ceremony was held on Taewon 9. Every colonist gathered in the central square. Earth soldiers stood at attention in their dress uniforms. Governor Deho stood on a platform with Admiral Jiho and Ambassador Soman. Deho spoke to the crowd. Today we honor those who gave their lives defending our freedom. Both colonists and Earth soldiers died together. They will never be forgotten. A monument was unveiled. It was a tall pillar made of stone and metal. On it were carved the names of everyone who died in the battle. At the top, words were written in both Korean and English. We were not forgotten. The crowd fell silent. Some people cried. Others stood strong. Everyone remembered the cost of freedom. It was not free. It was paid for with blood and sacrifice. But it was worth it. Admiral Jiho spoke next. His voice carried across the square. The galaxy is vast. It is easy to feel small, to feel forgotten. But I promise you this, Earth will never forget its children again. Wherever humans live, we will find them. Wherever they need help, we will be there. This is our vow. The crowd erupted in cheers. It was a sound of joy and relief, a sound of hope. The nightmare was over. The future was bright. That evening, Mirai boarded a shuttle. It would take her to the orbital station, then to a transport heading to Earth. She looked out the window as they lifted off. Taiwan grew smaller below her. Her home, her world, but she was not leaving forever. She was going to learn, to become stronger, to help ensure that what happened to Taiwan never happened to another colony. She would be part of Earth's promise, part of the protection. Across the galaxy, the story of Taiwan spread. Alien species heard what Earth had done, how they had crossed space to save a forgotten colony, how they had defeated a superior force through skill and determination, how they refused to abandon their people. Some species admired this. Others feared it. All respected it. Earth had made a statement. Humanity took care of its own. Cross that line and you would face consequences. Years later, Mirai stood on the bridge of an exploration ship. She had graduated from the academy at the top of her class. She had become an engineer, and she had volunteered for the Colonial Reclamation Fleet. The ship was approaching a planet in an unexplored system. Sensors had detected human genetic markers, another lost colony, another group of people waiting to be found. Captain Ji-won Kim commanded this mission. She had been promoted after her heroic actions at Taiwan 9. She stood beside Mirai, looking at the planet on the view screen. Are you ready? Captain Ji-won asked. Mirai smiled. Ready. Let us bring them home. The ship descended toward the planet. Below, a human settlement existed. The people there did not know it yet, but their isolation was ending. Earth had found them. Earth remembered. Somewhere in the settlement, a young person looked up at the sky. They saw a ship they did not recognize. They wondered what it meant. They did not know that everything was about to change. They did not know that help had arrived. They did not know that they were no longer alone. But they would know soon. Because Earth descends without warning. Earth protects its children, and Earth never forgets. The galaxy had forgotten them, but Earth remembered, and Earth's soldiers were coming. The end.